Hi everyone, it has been some time since I've updated my channel here, and the most watched video on this channel was regarding mental health awareness. So to come back at this, I thought what better person to join me in talking about mental health awareness than my friend here, Ty Carter. And Ty, you want to introduce yourself and just let them know why you are a mental health advocate.
I am a mental health advocate. For the past 7 or 8 years, I've been doing everything I can to remove the stigma of post-traumatic stress disorder. And one of the main things I've been trying to do is remove the D from post-traumatic stress disorder. I've got a lot of momentum or people that watch it because I also happen to be United States Army Medal of Honor recipient. So my full name is Staff Sergeant Tymichaelcarter, and yeah, she wanted to talk about some mental health awareness and also removing some of the stigmas. So here I am, and I'm proud to be here.
Awesome. So some of you know my journey of being a foster care child and some of the abuse that I've spoken about on my social media platforms. I have not gone into detail of the abuse. It's not the easiest thing in the world to talk about. But just the fact of surviving something during your developmental years, going back, reading books and things, and realizing the detriment of development or just how a brain works when it's abused, when it has trauma, like what you have to really work to overcome and to really strive to keep going forward in your progression as you live rather than staying stuck in the trauma. So I like the removal of the D of the disorder because it's more of this is life, this is what I experienced, and how do I move through processing the experience and get to the other side where I understand it, but I'm not stuck in it. And from experience of going through trauma, I know that for me personally, things cycle through. Like, I'll feel pretty good and have a lot of time of feeling good, and then it's like something trigger come up or whatever, and then your brain is right back into those memories. So I have spoken about journaling and how important journaling has been to me. In my 20s, I did go to a therapist, and she said that journaling, that was my intuitive therapy, self-therapy, to never stop writing. And so, and now I am 55, and all these years I've continued journaling, and I understand more as time has gone on the importance of what she said about you have figured out intuitively what is good for you to process.
It's different for everybody. So I went, after the firefight, 2009, October 3rd, I was literally forced to go into counseling because of how everybody else saw the change in me. I didn't notice. When you're going through severe PTS, it's your own brain thinks you're acting normal and you're not. So I was forced to go in counseling, and one of the tasks in counseling was I had to write out what happened in the firefight. Now, I didn't understand the need or the purpose for it at the time, but when you are triggered, when you are going through depression or anxiety, or later in life you have these triggers or flashbacks, that's your subconscious brain reminding you that this trauma did happen, and it's telling you to change your life, your situation, to avoid repeating it. The best definition I've found for PTS is an instinctive reflexive response of your body and mind to recall a traumatic incident in order to avoid repeating it. So by writing it down, by journaling it, you're forcing or you're feeding your subconscious brain, telling you you have to relive this, you have to remember it. So part of my treatment is I do public speaking. I tell about the firefight and things like that, and that's forcing me to relive it. It's forcing me to think about it, to where I go through these traumas, or I force myself through these traumas on my terms, on my time. Not, oops, flashback, and now I'm very upset, I'm embarrassed because I got scared, or I started tearing up, or things like that. So forcing yourself, forcing your mind and your body to absorb and remember, it hurts, but I'd rather do it on my time than when I'm supposed to be doing something else and it becomes a very embarrassing situation.
It's empowerment is what the word that I'm thinking of is.
You're owning your own trauma. You're growing
Yeah.
and you're learning and you're evolving with it. So,
Right.
in fact, the whole labeling the D. So when I went through my college class, I got my Associate of Science in Firearms Technology, and I was required to take a psychology course. Needless to say, the instructor and I didn't always get along. But in the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, it says if you are suffering after a trauma, within 1 month it's called acute stress disorder. After a month it's called post-traumatic stress disorder. And I asked the question, what kind of bookworm, egghead, is going to tell me how long I should mourn the loss of a child or a brother, a family member? How long am I supposed to, avoid a specific area of the highway because I had a car accident there? All they're doing is just trying to label it so they can issue medication or some type of treatment and put us in a box. Nobody fits in a box. We are all individuals. Mm-hmm. We all have our separate ideas, our separate experiences. You can take two individuals in a fighting hole, in combat, same fighting hole, right next to each other, and they will tell two completely different stories because they perceive things in different ways. So the fact that the psychologists, psychiatrists, these doctors or whoever, all they want to do is categorize you so they can research in their other little book. When in the end, when it comes to post-traumatic stress or any trauma, it's actually just having a conversation and talking about it. So the categories shouldn't be there, and then you get the stigma of, oh, you've got a disorder, you've got chemically
Right.
something wrong in your brain, or they're gonna go postal on somebody, and it's like, leave it alone. I mean, we all go through pains, we all go through traumas. It's just how we learn and grow, and when you label somebody or you feel stereotypical towards somebody because something bad happened to them or they have a particular job set, or like for example, me, some people think that I'm a killer or a murderer because I have actually caused casualties in combat. But then again, I didn't shoot at anybody that wasn't shooting at me or my group. But some people believe that, and that's fine. We had a slight interruption, but let's see if I can find my spot. You get labeled these things, so, all through growing up, through high school, junior high, I was into violence. My brother, he kind of was into gang violence, and I got absorbed into it. He would actually force me into fights to prove myself, and every time I got into a fight, I lost. The only time I ever really started winning fights is when I took mixed martial arts. I was in the Marine Corps, and then after the Marine Corps, I became a bouncer, an armed security guard, and I stopped trying to hurt people. I tried to subdue them, and I got really good at that. So then, all through the 5 years in between the Marine Corps and Army, I became a scout in the Army, and then it was constant violence. So now that I'm out, and I don't do bouncing anymore, I don't do armed security, I do work with guns. I'm an instructor, firearms instructor, sort of. But I'm very anti-violent. If somebody's perfect example, there was an incident where I was bouncing in a bar, and this guy was yelling at a woman. So it started to get physical, so I separated him, subdued him, and while I was doing that, looking up, trying to get everybody else away from him, one of the female's guy friends came up and stomped on his face while I had him subdued. And I'm responsible for that individual while they're down, and it broke my heart because I was responsible and he got injured while he was under my control. So yeah, I'd rather, wait for the swing, wrist lock, armbar, hip toss, put him on the ground and calm him down. But other than that, I don't strike anymore kind of thing. And also, a fight avoided is a fight won.
So, as we were talking before we got on camera about mental health, about journaling, about how you overcome these different experiences that you go through in life, how you make peace with them, basically. Mm-hmm. So here you've given the examples of combats and how you were challenged to do things and prove yourself. And to lead you to the path that you have
Yes.
lived at this point in time, and to make peace with how you got there and what you experienced as you've spoken. I've heard you a couple times refer it to the worst day of your life.
Yes.
So have you journaled about it repetitively, or how
Yes.
have you?
The 2.5 years after the firefight, I was ordered to go to counseling. And part of that was to not only talk about the incident, but also do the journals, because when you write it down, you notice more details. Plus, you're not only seeing it in your head and speaking it, but once you write it down, it actually triggers more suppressed memories in your head. So you write it down, you talk about it, you write it down, you talk about it, and you go back and read it, and if you wrote it down enough, it's in your head, but sometimes it's good just to go back and read it. Right now, I utilize the movie The Outpost, on Netflix, by the way, and the Medal of Honor documentary series. My episode's number 8. So instead of going back and reading the journal, when I'm feeling upset or depressed, I will watch these things, and it's like watching a video journal to help me satisfy the hunger of my subconscious or get rid of that whole anxious depression or hypervigilance or hyper awareness, because you feel tense and you feel like a stretched spring. Right now, because I've been pressured by a few individuals, I have been working on my book. So it's going to be an actual written book of not only the firefight, but what led me to join the Army, what led me to do the actions that I did, and a whole bunch of in-between stories of me just hanging out, with the unit or with my family, and the experience I got. Because I want people to know why I did what I did when I did it. And I also kind of want to make it kind of entertaining, because if you're talking serious the whole time, you don't throw a joke in there, then people kind of get tense.
Right. That's good. That's a good explanation of how continuing to bring what you experienced up, how it kind of dissipates, I guess, in the intensity over time, as you've spoken about it, as you've watched it, as you've written about it.
And also, little rituals help. So on October 3rd, that and Memorial Day are the most difficult days for me. It's not just the day, but it's actually the week prior. I start becoming secluded, a little bit depressed, and in order to acknowledge that or to get over it, on October 3rd and on Memorial Day, I actually pour out 8 shot glasses, 8 plus 1 because of the guy who died from an overdose later. And at night, I raise the glass to their names, say what they did and who they were to me, and I just pour it out on the soil. And after I get done with that, there's usually some tears involved and some shaky words, but then it feels like there's a weight lifted from my chest. That whole week of worrying about that day and then actually doing what I need to do to, be better, I feel great. We just had Memorial Day, and my friends were telling me, they're like, hey, if you need anything, I was like, nope, just leave me alone. I know what I need to do. I do it, and then it's like, oh, now I have energy. Now I can go out. Now I can do things. Now I can talk. Now I can hang out. And those rituals, those acknowledgments really help you grow, help you understand who you are and what you value in your life.
I think that's probably the key right there, help you understand who you are.
Yes.
Because as I've spoken with people in my journey going along with experiencing the trauma that I did and speaking with survivors of it, we all have similar ways that we deal with things, but yet our own personal way that we deal with things. So you can add tools to your bucket as you live, and something that worked for you 10 years ago might not work now.
Yes.
So
we are constantly changing.
Yeah, you shift. And you realize too, the more you get to know yourself, you realize when something's not working for you anymore, and it's like, okay, I need something else. And it's like I've given a lot of thought to things about addictions or like you say, the rituals and stuff. It's it's just such a personal journey, isn't it? I mean, I had a girl tell me years ago, it's like, once you accept all the parts of yourself is when you'll know peace. And it was such a simple sentence said to me, but I was in a job in life where it was just shredding my life, like completely. And so that made an impact of once you make, accept all parts of yourself, then you'll know peace. And how do you get to that acceptance? What tools do you gather to help you accept and help you deal with what you've seen, what you've experienced? So.
And new traumas, like you said before, new traumas add on to that. There was an incident a few months ago to where I thought it was nothing, but it kept on eating at me and growing and growing. And I got chewed out by a security guard, and he basically was trying to goad me into a fight just so I can be kicked out. And I bowed down, okay, whatever, I'm sorry, and did the thing. But for several weeks later, it just ate at me. And then I had to go back, kind of like, I even wrote up a complaint of targeted harassment. But the writing it out actually helped me realize that when I was getting that done, it reminded me of when I was in the military and I had to have some idiot who outranked me put me in parade rest and just totally crap on everything that I was. And once I realized that, oh my gosh, this is bringing up something traumatic from my past, because I got triggered, but I didn't realize it at the time until I wrote out the complaint. And I said, okay, now I understand why I was so upset for so long. I submitted the complaint. Hopefully they do something about this individual, but if not, it's still, I did everything I could other than, make a whole bunch of phone calls and get him fired. But that's not necessary. I just don't want that kind of targeted harassment to happen again.
Was there ever a time that you felt like you needed to just seclude yourself because, like, instances like that where things at life come at you that reminded you of something you've already gone through, and you're like, I just don't want to deal with any more of these repetitive experiences?
It's things like that happen a lot, especially in the military. The term is take a knee and face outboard. Referring to if you're on patrol, you went through a firefight, you're still on patrol, and you're getting emotional to where you can't function as a proper service member. They say take a knee, face outboard, which means patrol to a halt, and you have your weapon, take a knee, face outboard, so nobody can see your emotions. Sometimes, I need that. I have my house for that. It's very secluded. Anytime I want to be social, I go downtown, have a couple beers with people. But my house was built in a spot where it removes negative energy or negative tension. So anytime I need to go be secluded, I just stay home.
I know the feeling.
And
I stay a lot on my social media. I stay to myself.
And I work on my hobbies. I build and make firearms. I build and make muzzleloaders. I cast my own bullets. I make my own black powder. I mean, when you're retired, you got a lot of free time, and I fill it up. I would say a lot that I'm never really working, but I'm always busy.
I have kind of a heavy question, I guess it would be. So, you had spoke earlier about you think you're carrying on normally, and then other people are seeing you, and then you realize, oh, I've got some healing to do, or I have some work to do. I am not functioning all circuits,
Your perception of yourself is because you're seeing yourself through your own eyes, not in. So you're just reacting to the environment around you the way you think you normally do, but your friends and family, they usually notice the difference. So once you change your perception because of a trauma, you need to relearn how to work with yourself with this newfound information. Your bubble of ignorance has been popped because you have been victimized, and now you have to re-see the world with your newfound information.
All right. In the beginning of this, we spoke about journaling. Is that something that you still do?
I consider it, yes, in a way, the book. I even have a little voice recorder because when I was in the firefight, I had a major concussion, lost most of the hearing in my left ear. So when I do remember something, I have to pull out the recorder and tell the story into the recorder so that I can actually type it out. And my book is a form of my journaling. Okay. It's not everyday life, but everyday life brings up memories. So, plus I have no internet at my house, so it's kind of hard to get on the computer and type it out without having to click up all the little warning screens that, oh, you know, you haven't renewed this thing, you haven't renewed that thing. And
well, I had spoke on in one of my videos about for me, the connection of the brain to the hand to the paper, and like you had said about seeing your words and then reading your words. It's like when I type, if I type journal, like I'll sometimes type into my phone notes, you know, when I feel like I need to get something out of my head. And it just doesn't give me the same gratification as picking up a pen and writing the stuff out.
The last journal entry I did was a few months ago, and I put so much effort into it because I have a calligraphy set. And when I do the journal, I try to write it like it's, you know, I try to make it a form of art.
Okay.
And just anything like what happened today, something interesting happened today, I'm pretty sure, you know, I'm going to be writing something about, because my daughter is graduating high school next week. So, I mean, cool stuff. But yeah, pen to paper is a lot more formal. It's a lot more intimate.
Do you have moments where you feel like you have to get to a pen and some paper? Like you're just like, I got to get this out of my head right now. Like it's
not
something
recently.
urgent.
Not
but
recently.
Have you had that?
Yes. I have to write this down, and especially when I get a new phone, because I don't know how to work the phone.
Well, we're talking emotional stuff. That's
what I mean. That's what I mean.
And I just ask that because I've had in comments and also just talking about journaling with people, it's like, it's not necessarily people's go-to. They don't understand, like, why would you get a pen and paper? What is that going to do for you? Or how they even get stuck as far as like just feeling pressured to write something. And so for me, it's like I said in one of the videos, it's like, okay, today really sucked. I didn't like today at all. And just start the train, just start the thought process going.
It's like a download of the emotional baggage.
That's a good way to describe it.
And even when I journaled, I wouldn't just write words. Sometimes I'd write pictures or things that I remembered to help describe what I'm writing, because I couldn't get the words out properly. So I would just draw a picture.
Oh, that's great too. Yeah, if you have that ability to.
Not so much anymore. My hands shake a lot, so my calligraphy doesn't look as good.
Well, I just mainly wanted to give something, some insight from somebody else who's absolutely been through trauma, and how you become your whole self again, how you become and grow yourself into a place of peace, really. Yes. I mean, because I've had people say to me, it's like, you seem so composed, or you seem so together, you seem, but it's like, you're not with me 24/7. You don't know the struggles mentally or emotionally, the days that I literally grab a blanket and sit here and just sit, and I'm like, okay, bring the awareness back into myself, into right here, right now. If journaling doesn't seem to work, meditation, go to the gym, go walk in nature. It's like, just things, like I said, you gather tools along your life. They're like, okay, this works for me now. This can be a go-to, And
yes, definitely. Sometimes when I'm feeling tense, in my house, I just curse and yell and But what people need to understand is that the trauma never goes away, because it's not supposed to. You're supposed to absorb it and understand it. It's like I said before, it's an evolution, it's growing, there's always things adding on it. And through journaling, through watching shows, through taking walks and finding yourself, this is how you're challenging, this is how you're combating it. By denying and not talking about it, by not writing about it, you're actually giving it strength to grow, and that's when the flashbacks and that's when getting triggered happens.
It's kind of like bringing the darkness to light, right? It's like,
Yeah, the more you push
yeah.
it down, the more you're compressing that spring, and it's going to
Yep.
bounce back and hit you in the face.
I fully agree with that. And even things that you aren't really fully aware would be a trigger until you are living your life and you're like you said earlier about something, it's like, oh, I didn't even realize that would be something that would bring
Yeah.
something else up. We're always learning about ourselves.
Exactly.
But when we have the tools, as we gather things, and go through life, when we have the tools that you're like, well, I'll try journaling if something comes up.
Yeah.
I'll try journaling. Oh, this isn't working. I got to go for a walk. I got to do this. I got to do that. It's like anything that can grow you and add to your well-being rather than detrimental to your well-being, such as addictions that some people do turn to. And that's basically what I try to promote through videos and through my social media activity, is just finding ways to grow and help yourself naturally as much as possible.
Yes, I used to self-medicate a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't addicted, but definitely. I mean, they wanted to give me pills, they want to give me all this kind of stuff, and I was like, honestly, all I want is a good stout beer, and I'm good. I'll relax.
I know what I need. I was on prescription meds, and it's, that's the whole other video to talk about. But like I said, I just wanted to make this one mainly to do with journaling, just because I did have comments and just like the connection between the brain, the hand, the paper, and
Yeah, it's almost all your senses, because you're seeing it, you're thinking it, even the sound of the pen writing, but also you're feeling it with your hands and everything else. So it pushes it further into memory to where it stays better. And plus, if you do forget, you always have the journal reference material to go back to.
Yeah, and I know for me, I've had times where I thought if I can just get a pen and paper, I'll be okay. If I can just get to something where I can write some things out, I'll be all right. So yeah, hopefully this may inspire whoever's watching that, begin a journaling practice. It's some of the ways that it's helped Ty and I, and thank you for watching if you've been with us this long here. And until next time, thank you so much.
Bye.